Hence, as you speak to your learners, choose your words with utmost care, as your one remark can make or break a child. The Online Professional Development Program 2021, organized for the second year, is an important step in this direction. Everyone's favorite president, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, said, educationists should build the capacities of the spirit of inquiry, creativity, entrepreneurial, and moral leadership among students and become their role model. So, kindle the innate creativity and inquisitiveness of young learners and sculpt them as learners of life and learners for life. Imbibe in them the spirit of inquiry in such a way that they grow up as seekers of knowledge. Dr. Nelson Mandela famously said, education is the most powerful weapon with which you can change the world. So, as a teacher, you have the power to change the world. You have the power to script the destiny of the universe. You have the power to sculpt the future. This PDP has been designed in a way to ensure that we shall enlighten every young life to fulfill the mission and vision of making India a vibrant knowledge hub by 2030 as envisaged by our founder president and make it a happy world. Wishing you all the best. Our principal, Ms. Aarti Chopra, a dedicated educationist with over 28 years of experience, is a firm exponent of amalgamating modern skills and teacher empowerment in education. Ma'am was recently awarded with the prestigious CBSE Principal Award 2020. We are always indebted to ma'am for their motivation and guidance. Now, I would really like to welcome Ms. Rashi today, who's there on the behalf of our Safe Place. My Safe Place is an online mental health platform that offers innovative and affordable wellness services to schools, corporates, and to individuals. The pandemic, we all know, has brought in a rocketing need for mental and emotional well-being and support. The programs offered are one-on-one private therapy, wellness circles for small groups, webinars, and creative art therapy workshops. The programs at My Safe Place have a mix of emotional, motivational, therapeutic, and engaging content, are led by trained psychologists and wellness mentors. The key essence is the engagement that ensures attraction to attend these sessions. The content of these engaging sessions have been strategized in a way to provide engagement along with wellness. Ms. Rashi, we welcome you. Over to you, ma'am, to introduce our resource person to today.
Thank you very much, Shilpi. Thank you very much, Amity, for giving My Safe Place this opportunity to organize this program on emotional resilience in times of loss and grief for this very prestigious organization of Amity. Thank you very much, everyone. Now, we all know how Corona has hit all of us hard, and we firmly believe that the community which was hit the hardest as much as the Corona direct warriors was the teacher community. Overnight, they had to become technology savvy. Overnight, they had to manage home versus their school. Overnight, they had to handle 40, 50 children in a platform which was new for everybody. The challenges which you teachers faced and combated so bravely is known to the entire world. But yes, the saviors also need some guidance, some cushioning, and some expression, that would help them and take on their battle with as much valor as they have been doing. For this reason, we present to you emotional resilience in the times of loss and grief. To do this, the trainer of today's session is Miss Rachel Jayseelan, who is an extremely capable, talented, empathetic, and trained psychologist from Bangalore. So I will just read a brief about Rachel. So Rachel is currently pursuing her doctorate in psychology. She has graduated with Masters in Clinical Psychology and an MPhil from Christ University, Bangalore. She has studied and has publications and experiences in the area of oncology, relationships, and addiction. Rachel has worked with more than 1,000 clients in the past 3 years. Her area of expertise is screening and diagnostic testing for development delays, learning disability, ADHD, and behavioral and emotional disorders in children. She has conducted more than 100 workshops for students and professionals on a variety of topics such as effective communication skills, decision making strategies, dealing with stress, anxiety, depression, healthy interpersonal relationships. So you are in extremely good hands with somebody who will understand every pulse of your emotion. She will be running through a series of slideshows, and then we will also have an interactive question answer sessions. So Rachel, a very, very warm welcome to you, and thank you so much for guiding us through today.
Thank you so much, Rashi and Shilpi, and faculty, all our friends from Amity. Thank you so much for joining in today for this particular session. First of all, thank you for taking the step to want to do something to improve emotional resilience. We have always thought that till this situation came, till the pandemic came, we never realized how much of assistance that we might actually require. Sometimes we also learn certain things about ourselves, that I'm good at this, or these are areas that I'm having difficulty with. We also realize that things that we used to rely on before may not be working for us right now. Okay, for example, I work with a lot of clients who enjoy going for long drives after a very bad or a rough day. And they realize during the peak lockdown, they were not allowed to step outside their house itself. Or else, when you have a tough day at work, we are used to coming home and having a relaxed time. Or if you have a tough time at home, you are used to going to work and interacting with your colleagues to get your mind off. But now, sitting in the same spot on your sofa, you're trying to manage both, right? As well as the work-life balance, which is how are you managing all your responsibilities at home, as well as the needs, emotional needs, as well as the academic needs, extracurricular needs of the children that you work with. So it's important that we have a check-in to understand where are we during this time. Are we experiencing something new, something different? What is it that we can do about it? So as I run through the slides, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop it into the chat box. There's a Q&A, and I'll be more than happy to address those questions for you. Shilpi, you can just let me know if you're able to see the slides.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
All right, thank you so much. Right, so something interesting which I discovered during practice is that as working people, we think that I'm working with children, I'm working with teachers, so there are only these set of concerns that I can deal with. For example, children are likely to bring up academic related issues, and you're used to working or dealing with that, right? But because we are all working from home, different areas of our life might spill over. So you're not only dealing with work related concerns, but you're managing multiple concerns, right? For example, it could be financial, it could be social, you're cut off from your usual circle. There could be a monotony with work, getting up, logging in, logging off. There could be a monotony with work. How do you deal with some of these changes individually? Also, who have you become in this process? Okay, are you a mother, are you a father, are you a brother, a son, or a teacher? When you are having the same space for working, what's happening to your mind? So there are certain challenges that automatically come in that is out of our control because of the current situation that we are in, and inevitably it will take an impact on our mental health, right? So we are going to be talking about emotional resilience, which is how do we build ourselves up, how do we protect ourselves from certain concerns that are likely to emerge. Also, why is everything so uncertain around that? How do we deal with the unpredictability as well, right? Shilpi, are you able to see the slide?
Yes, ma'am, it's all
Okay,
good.
because
I'll
my
let you know in
screen,
case they disappear.
sure, my screen disappeared. So please just let me know if you're not
Yes,
able to see it, all
yes.
right? Sure. So what is the current scenario for teachers from an academic context, right? So there is this difficulty with initiation of connection on an online format, right? The connectedness that you feel with a set of students walking in, the emotions that you feel when you see a busy day in class, well, it's a different experience when it's there all online, right? Besides the kind of support that teachers and students look for, right? What students look for in teachers, especially, even therapists, we have a little difficulty with having our sessions online where we try to establish that emotional connect with people when it's just screens. And as a teacher myself, I can kind of guess that a lot of students tend to keep their cameras off during the session. So how do you establish an emotional connect when you do not see the faces of the people on the other side of the screen? So this is another thing that's been happening, plus dealing with multiple parental enquiries because they are also going through a lot of uncertainty. They do not have answers as probably as quick as they want to have it. Then comes the work life balance where you're trying to manage your school life. How do you contribute? How do you be valuable there? Plus a lot of changing responsibilities at home, plus the difficulty in terms of use of technology. So all of these changes happen during lockdown time, and it can result in some features which I've put up on the screen right here. Now, the way we have put up here is things that you can just have a check-in for yourself. Did I go through any of this during this particular time? Have I seen anyone in my family go through any of these concerns during the pandemic? What about children? Have I observed this there? Maybe it's not something so unique to the child. Maybe there is an effect of the pandemic in some direct or indirect ways because we have been going through loss as well. Loss of freedom is also a loss. Loss of connection to my peer group is also a loss. Not just the death of someone, but all of this in the mind is perceived as a loss. So some of the psychological signs you can see is like forgetfulness, anxiety, overthinking, and then you have difficulty getting to sleep, irritability at some of the smallest interruptions, easy frustration, also the physical, having stress headaches, body headaches. Your monthly cycles could get disturbed, appetite, sleep cycles, all of this could get affected, including feeling tired, right? So I've had some of my clients ask me, ma'am, earlier I used to go out. I used to get up in the morning at 7 a.m. in the morning, and I used to drive about 1 hour to work in Bangalore traffic, peak traffic, work for about 10 hours, take another 1 hour back, right? So how do we I had more energy for that, but now sitting in the same spot, I seem to have less energy. What happens? Why are we feeling tired? Right? So there are certain emotional repercussions for that as well. Right. So the next one is another additional impact is loss. I told you that loss doesn't necessarily have to mean loss of a person. We have experienced a lot of loss in other ways as well. Loss of freedom is something which I mentioned. Just a second. Shilpi, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, Shilpi, I'm not sure who's changing the screen, but I'm losing act. Somebody is altering the screens from their side.
Uh, Only IT master is the presenter. I'm the rest. I'll check, ma'am. I'll check. Otherwise,
Okay.
nobody can because we others are not presenters. I'll check, ma'am.
Yes, please. All right. So we were talking about loss, and which could reflect in terms of I spoke to you about loss of freedom. Some individuals have felt I used to meet my friends every day after work. Now that is not there anymore. So loss of social connectedness as well. Now, additionally, these are some of the emotions people can experience, right? Like grief, sadness, fear, anxiety, anger, also frustration, and being stuck indoors all the time, the lack of variety. So we are also dealing with loss, not our own loss. Maybe you have seen something in your close family. It could be dealing with a student and their family members who have experienced loss as well. So right now you are functioning more than just in an academic role. There seems to be a spillover from other sides as well. So just a quick checklist, and I want you to read this as well and see how many of this matches with something you might have experienced during the lockdown period, right? Such as feeling isolated or lonely, disconnected from people. The sense of walking into a staff room, greeting a colleague. We may not have that kind of physical presence with others for a while, right? So that sense of connectedness is not there. And being unable to switch off from work, since it's technology everywhere, where your laptop is or where your phone is, that's also work. So how are you really able to switch off from work and saying that after 5 I'm not thinking of work anymore? This used to be something which kind of happened before, when we used to log off from work at schools, drive to our homes and get immersed in our home responsibilities. But now being having difficulty in switching off, or even difficulty staying motivated because of lack of variety, or prioritizing your workload because there is no external guidance, another teacher, another faculty. When we see others around us, we are constantly comparing to see what we need to do, how fast do we need to do, and that sense of group work may not be pushing us right now. Some kind of uncertainty about progress as well, and ultimately maybe emotional burnout, right? Which is that tiredness and that fatigue which I spoke to you about. But why do we need to keep working at ourselves, right? When I started working with clients at the beginning of the pandemic, uh, a lot of them told me, ma'am, I know things will become better once the pandemic gets over. This was 1.5 years back. And even then I asked them, are you going to wait to work on yourself, waiting for the pandemic to get over, or is this something that we can start? Some of them decided to work on themselves. Some of them said, I know once the pandemic gets better, I will do this. Once the pandemic gets over, I will be able to improve how I feel about myself. I can start getting physically fit. I'll go to the gym once the pandemic is over. But we are still at this phase after 1.5 years. It's really important that we don't stop working at ourselves, especially when you're a part of a wonderful academic group. Why is it important that we use this context, use this environment, our academic environment, to improve our mental health indirectly as well? The first reason, and the most important reason, mental health, it responds to a stable routine. And for all of us, academic structure is the one which gives us a stable routine. It tells us when to wake up, when to log in, what classes to do, when to log off, who to talk to. It gives you a kind of a routine, and routine is very important for our mental health as well. Also, since you're engaging with people, with students, with your academic work, creating presentations, your brain activity and stimulation is also on. So it's never really just stable. It is always working, it's always alert, and that's important for us to improve our mental health as well. And it gives you a kind of an identity. You know who you are. You know you're a games faculty or an art teacher or a math teacher. You know who you are. It gives you an identity. Identity is also very important for our sense of well-being as well. And even with the limitations that we are all functioning in, our work gives a kind of a break from monotony. It gives a variety. It gives us new people to interact with, new lessons to think about on an everyday basis. And this is very important, especially during the time of the lockdown. It's also an area of your life where you can set goals and move forward. So we are going to work towards the emotional resilience part. What are some of the small things that you all can do to keep yourself mentally fit on a day-to-day basis, right? So I've given you a multitude of suggestions on the screen here now. I want you to try and read it also as I'm discussing some of this with you. Important ones is practicing being grateful, right? Learning how to be grateful, appreciation. Now, something that Shilpi did at the beginning of the session is showing gratitude to the management people, those who have been there for support. It's likewise, it's very important that we show each other, not just at our work life, but also in at home, gratitude. And if we can do this on a regular basis, who says we are not supposed to thank our husband or our wife or even our child? It's important we feel gratitude because that has a huge impact on positivity, on mental positivity, right? Positivity is not about just feeling positive. It's about the other things that you do to make sure that the positivity stays. And one thing is practicing gratitude. Tell people that you appreciate them for what they are doing for you. Right now, as I'm taking this session, it is 1 o'clock. It is probably lunchtime at your homes as well. But if there's someone who's pitching in the responsibility of getting lunch ready, getting the family together so that you can take this session, then gratitude. The other one is to be able to schedule your day. I usually use written schedules because that helps me. But even visual schedules work. It works for children, especially visual schedules, where they know on a step-by-step basis, what do I do first when I wake up in the day? What next? Likewise, before you go to bed, if you can just review the rest of your day, what do I need to get done the next day? And then when you wake up in the morning, before you jump out of bed, just remember again, recall in that same order, what do I need to do in the day? It's like a mental revision to structure your day, mental health response to structure. Learning how to set boundaries, knowing how to and when to switch off from work and start your home life. That will also help. We call it psychological detachment. Some of the questions I used to get is, ma'am, I don't have a separate workspace. So for me, people are always walking about at home. There's noise in the background. My children are running about. Sometimes when I'm at work, someone comes and tells me, pay this bill because I'm there physically in front of them. They're not able to understand that I'm actually working. I get very irritated. Communication is very important. We should never assume that the other person can read our mind and read what we want and don't want. But communication. 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. I have work. During this time, I cannot do any house related work, but 1 to 2 is my time that I can engage with family. We can have a family lunch together. It's the lunchtime for students. It's the lunchtime for faculty. This is a time I set for my family. Or 6 to 7 in the evening, it's family time. They also should know when you're available. Likewise, you and your family should sit together to be able to figure out when is work done, when can we focus on work. So at from home, when can we focus on home? The people you are living with should know when the boundaries, where the boundaries lie. Communication is very important. Converse with the right people. Talk with people who will not increase your anxiety. I'm sure we can think about some people in our lives where if we call and tell them, oh, I'm so annoyed and so irritated, this is what's happening, they will tell you more things to make you more irritated or more anxious. This is something which my grandmother used to do. When I tell her something that I'm anxious about, she will add fuel to the fire, and then both of us will be ultimately anxious at the end of that phone call. So talk with the right people. When you want someone to calm you down, talk to someone who you know you can rely on to help calm you down. Someone you can have a mature conversation with. Practice being kind to yourselves. If you're having a rough day, that's okay. Nobody told you that you have to be strong all the time, or that men can't cry, or that women have to multitask always and be good at it. There are no rules, there are no written rules like that. Right now, during the pandemic, we are experiencing so many new emotions. A lot of the clients I work with, did not know anxiety could feel this intense till the pandemic hit, till the lockdown hit, and they suddenly did not have answers that they had before. We are dealing with all of those emotions we put up on the screen, maybe guilt, sadness, fear, anxiety, irritability, anger. We might be experiencing all of that. If only we could also try to remember, how did we get to here from last 1.5 years? How did we get to where we are? Just think about yourself 1.5 years back. Did you ever think that you would be able to use technology so easily, so flawlessly? That you and the kids you work with were able to adapt to an online mode of teaching? That you were and you are still able to multitask this well? What has pushed you for the last a year and a half? That what has pushed you this far, despite the struggles, the reason why all of us are here today, that is emotional resilience. There is something in us which helps us bounce back, which helps us understand, okay, I'm stressed, but what do I need to go? What do I need to do to survive? So survival, adapting, compromising, moving forward, holding on to hope, all of this is emotional resilience. With respect to work, some things that has always helped me is not working with home clothes on. So even if I am working from home, change into work clothes, move into a separate space that your mind knows is a workspace. Avoid taking work calls or your classes or any work related interactions on the bed in your home room, because your brain knows the bed is for sleeping, workspace is for working. We should not mix that up and confuse the brain. It's already quite confused because of the pandemic, but it's important we have that structure and routine. Even cleaning your workspace, decluttering it, organizing it really helps. With your co-workers, try and have a regular meetup. It doesn't have to be just for work related, but just feedback or a emotional checkup. For the last couple of days, we have been having wellness circles with some employees, and it's so wonderful to hear them share the difficulties they experienced, plus what they learned from their colleagues and how much they learned from their colleagues and grew. Likewise, we have such a wonderful community here. Use this space to learn from one another. And when you learn and grow, that is resilience. Resilience will tell you I can bounce back, but the second time I get hit, I will bounce back faster. Let me just try and give you a visual example, right? Imagine a balloon and you are pressing the balloon. As soon as you touch the balloon's surface, it is not going to burst unless you have really sharp nails, but it's not going to burst otherwise. The reason it doesn't burst is because of its resistance. The balloon has resistance to the pressure that you apply. Likewise, when there is stress, there is resilience. Okay, when there is stress, when there is something that is impacting, there has to be resilience. And we need to build this resilience up so that no matter how stressful it is, we know we will be able to bounce back. So stay connected and be open to learning from one another. Seniority, juniors, we still are all humans and we're all learning in this pandemic together. While you're working, even take care of your physical health. For example, the position in which you are sitting, maybe the position in which you're listening to this webinar right now is the same position in which you take class every day. Do you take physical breaks? After about 20 minutes of sitting in the same spot, do you do counter exercises? That really helps. Counter exercises helps. If you're typing for a long time, more than 25 minutes, do counter exercises. That really helps. If you're holding your neck stiff, counter exercises. That helps. Do you remember to do that? Try and remember to do that. Even the mind, the body, both of them need regular breaks. We need to take care of both. The mind and the body are connected. With respect to yourselves as well as your students, during the pandemic, it's important we have realistic expectations. How do we do that? It's important we don't move into this phase holding the exact same expectations as before. Resilience is also about adapting. It's about compromise and adapting and seeing what will work now rather than this worked for the 30 years that I was teaching, so it has to work now. Even parenting doesn't work that way. I often have, I often see a lot of parents, so I work with children. And when parents sit for the feedback after their academic testing or something, the parents kind of talk to one another and they will say, this is how I've parented my older child. This is how I've seen my mother parent me. It's not working for this kid. He only must be wrong because this has worked for both the kids so beautifully. It's not working for this kid. Every person that we are working with are unique. And I'm sure I'm talking to a big group of passionate academicians right now. And with that same passion, we need to set realistic expectations, which means we need to understand that the person on the other side of the call, on the other side of the screen, are also going through changes just like you are also going through difficulties just like you are. And to watch out, listen, and show compassion, show empathy as well. Observe changes in, if there are any, in the people around you. If there are changes in sleeping patterns, especially children, if you are at home and you have children in your environment, children don't communicate like adults communicate. Even adults are not comfortable with saying I'm anxious, stress is okay, but the other things that you're feeling, adults rarely talk about it. Communication is important. We are all used to seeing I'm used to seeing my parents react rather than telling what they feel. They will always want to protect the child, so I don't want to talk about what they feel. But by seeing my dad, mom, I'll know if anybody is irritated, if anybody is sick, because we see them, we see behaviors and we try to understand something. But adults have the option of communicating, which is what you and I have to do. With children, they don't communicate, but they show. You will start to see changes in behaviors. Irritability, throwing too many tantrums, suddenly becoming very quiet, difficulty in focus, concentration, withdrawal, not participating, over participating, sudden change, or reporting constant headaches, body aches, taking off from school. Sudden changes like this, decline in academics, might indicate this child, some needs are not being met. Maybe there's some emotional difficulty as well. And this is how it will impact. So it's important you are open with your concern, open with what you are looking for. Let the child, the parent, even your family members know that this is a safe space and you can talk. They can talk to you without judgments, that you will listen. With your own family, try and do something nice together, right? I always split the time into time with family into 3 types, right? I'll say you need to have productive time with yourself, which is your work, your career, your corrections. That's productive time with yourself. You need to have fun by yourself. Reading a book, talking to a friend, sleeping. You need to have productive time with your family when you are washing up the dishes, discussing your daily chores, discussing finances, any other plans. household activities, productive time with family. You also need to have fun with family. These four things are very important. It's not one and the same. All the four are important. You should also have fun. Gadget addiction is something else which has increased. Because we have to use technology, we should now be aware of when to cut off. So for example, since everything is on the phone, mindlessly scrolling through it is not helpful. You might tell me, ma'am, I might be using social media, I might be on the computer, but I'm just scrolling, I'm just hardly reading about 10 or 20%. The remaining 80%, whether you focus on it or not, it is still getting into our brain. These eyes, they take in everything. Whether you're focused or not, it takes it in. So limit your exposure to a lot of the chaos that is going. Stay informed, but you have a choice whether to get overwhelmed by the information or not. So limit. With gadget addiction, I would recommend, if you're living in a family space, with children especially, even adults, have some standard rules which apply for both children as well as adults. For example, uh, meal times. When you eat together, no phones. When you're spending time watching a movie together in the night, no phones. Beds, on the bed, no phones. So have gadget-free spaces and gadget-free times. We don't realize that without our knowledge, how much we use social media and technology has increased over the last year or so. So these are a couple of the things you can take into consideration during the pandemic phase, and even post that, it's definitely going to help you. Right? When it comes to processing grief, it's not possible without sufficient training to exactly counsel the individual, but the first step that I've put in, talking about the individual. If you've lost a colleague, if you have lost a loved one, providing a safe space so that you can talk and embrace the individual, talk about the memories, be a support, emotional support to one another, and not trying to avoid the conversation. There are several rituals. For example, if you've just lost somebody very close to you, in a lot of religions, they have different rituals, right? Those rituals are all very important. If we can't do it face to face, it's important that it's still done. Even using technology, we have Zoom meetings where you just begin by saying something about the other person, who you miss, who you love, who you cared about, what you miss about them. Those memories are also important. All these rituals are very important. And if not for counseling, the best thing that you can do for another person who's going through a loss is listen. Listen without advising. It's the best step that you can do. Listen, be an emotional support to them just by listening and showing empathy. That's very important. So as we're going towards the end, I once again encourage you, if you have any questions, please leave it in the Q&A in the chat box, and I will be more than happy to answer it for you. With respect to social media, stay informed but not overwhelmed. Know when to turn off your gadgets. Use social media positively to connect to people. Take frequent breaks when you're working. After every 25 minutes, it is recommended that you take a 5-minute break if possible. If not, after an hour, you can take a break. Every 25 minutes, it's the best technique. 25 minutes, take a break. 25 minutes, take a break. After 2 rounds of this, take a 15-minute break, physical break, not just in the same spot with your phone. All of these techniques will help build up your resilience. Something as simple as staying hydrated, drinking a glass of water, reminding yourself that you need to stay hydrated. That's also very important. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to have bad days. It's okay to have a rough phase. It's okay to be sad. We should just learn what should I do to bounce back rather than worrying about what's not working. Start planning about what can work. So just a quick couple of notes before we wind up. Start your day on a positive note, pray, meditate, exercise. Exercising is very important, even if it's a small walk, 15 minutes in a day. It's very important. Start it positively. Start your day away from your phone, away from your laptop. Don't start and end the day with gadgets. It has a significant impact on mental health. Use this time to learn things about yourself. Learn what you're good at, learn what you're not good at. You need both. Learn what makes you cry, what makes you happy, where do you get irritated, where do you have a lot of patience. Learn about yourself. Practice being kind to yourself. You don't have to be guilty when you want to make yourself happy. There are times when at the end of a very tough day where I get a lot of difficult clients to work with, I sometimes treat myself to a nice chocolate brownie at the end of a day, and I don't want to feel guilty about it. It's okay. I want to reward myself. I want to appreciate myself. That's also okay. There should be no guilt when it comes to making yourself happy. Use this time to strengthen your social circle. Stay connected. Don't stay connected only with the same people, but expand your circle. Connect back with some old friends, old colleagues, old neighbors, people in your neighborhood, in your apartment building. Right now, we have realized we need more than the anchors we were used to before. We need to put our eggs in a lot of baskets, not all of it in one basket and then fear it might fall. Practice being grateful, maintain a structured and healthy sleep cycle, learn to set boundaries, knowing when to cut off, when to say no, and having a clear cut time when you switch off from work and enter into your personal life, when there is a social life, all of that you need to have your boundaries, not experience all of it together, not worry about home bills at work and work related things when you are trying to focus on home responsibilities. Challenge your negative thinking. When there is too much of something, we need to do less of it. So when there is overthinking, take a couple of deep breaths, practice relaxation, meditation, deep breathing techniques, drink water, have a bite of chocolate, go for a walk, write down your thoughts rather than thinking your thoughts. That really helps. So if there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to take it right now. If there are any questions. You can also unmute and ask me.
Anyone has a question? Or we could continue. I really like that line. You should write down your thoughts rather than thinking your thoughts.
That's something which is really Shilpi, that helped me personally as well, because we don't realize when we think everything up here. This is also one of the reasons why a lot of us can get disturbing dreams as well, because we take all our energies as thoughts when we sleep, and then we worry why are we not able to sleep, why is there sleep disturbance. All of this comes up, but also we hold on to that anxiety thought when we go to bed. It is bound to get affected. I'm sorry. Yes, sir?
It's not about all the things. We are supporting you, ma'am. We are very interesting in your speech. Can you go forward, ma'am?
I'm sorry, sir, I'm not able to hear you too well.
Wait a minute, ma'am.
Yes, Lagpal sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, I can hear you now. It's very soft, sir, so I'm not able to hear you very clearly.
Ma'am, I was just listening your and then watching your speech and as well as your speech also. It was wonderful, ma'am. You can go forward, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
We
Rachel?
just left the last 10 minutes so that if there are any questions, any clarifications or any questions, I'll be
Rachel?
happy to answer them for you.
Yes, Rachel, there's one question in the chat box. Ma'am, how do we emotionally balance the kids as they are away from school and from friends? So this is a teacher asking for the students.
All right. Okay. So one way is even during class activities, if there can be something planned, like just for 5 minutes in a day where the cameras are switched on for all the students. In fact, uh, with some of the kids that I work with, when I ask them about school, when I ask them about our friends, they don't remember the faces of their friends, especially the younger kids. They don't remember, they remember the names, they don't remember the faces. Now, these are not things that we want the kids to go through. So, even for 5 minutes in a day, if they can just turn on the cameras and just, just tell a story or just ask them to share what they had for lunch or just something fun to connect all of them together, right? That will really help. Also, it additionally helps if I was talking to you about how teachers are now performing a role more than just academic instructors. A lot of parents ask me to write. So when I do testing, I have to give a report to the school, and parents want me to write, can the teacher please ask the student at the end of the day how they are doing on an emotional side? Just if you know, once if you have 30 students in a class, 30 days in a month, each day if you can just set 5 minutes aside for a student to really ask them how are they doing, what is it that they miss about school, is there any memory that they have about school, which subject are they finding it difficult with, how, what's happening at home, are you helping your brother and sister out? So parents would just, this one sentence, one or two statements to the child can really help both the parents as well as the child know that there is somebody additional out there who's also watching out for them, who cares for them beyond just marks on a paper. In fact, what has happened is, because children are seeing parents' faces all the time at home, they are tuning out their voice, right? Parents are not able to make the child do as much as before. They are not completely accountable. No, the same person is telling you 100 times something every day, you will stop listening. So if the teacher can come in there and just check in once in a while to the child, it will really go a long way to create emotional balance. Also, when you take lessons for some of the subjects, at least, maybe literature, poetry, you can even ask additional questions to the child related to feelings. How does the story make you feel? What are you thinking about? The children should have a space where they can start some of those discussions as well. Those will really help. So, ma'am, I hope that answered your question. Thank you so much for putting that across.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
मैं खोलता हूँ दीदी.
Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Yeah, ma'am. I'm Pushpa Kenneth from AIS Noida. I have a question, as being a teacher, we are the sports teacher. We are not so handy with the computer. We are doing all the work with the computer, and we are taking our classes on the computer. And how we can, motivate ourselves and be positive ourselves, because we are doing the double work, housework and the classwork and the computer work also. Can you give us some relieving, relaxing point to us also?
Sure, ma'am. Ma'am, a couple of the things which I had taken you through is now we are functioning in multiple responsibilities, right? You're also an educator, you're also a mother, you're probably also a daughter to your parents, you're also a neighbor who asks for a favor, and you have all of these academic work to get done, right? Structuring your day is very important. If you wake up in the day thinking, work life, I have to do this, I have to prepare slides, I have to cook a meal, I have to call my parents, I have to focus on the homework of my child. That's like 5 or 6 things that you're very anxious about, wondering how, where to start, how to do it. But one at a time, to prioritize your list. What is the most important thing? And never be afraid to ask help as well, which is if you need assistance for anything. I had a lot of help with Microsoft Teams before I started using it. So I had to be willing to ask help, and I used to ask help to my students when I used to teach. They are more tech savvy than us, so I used to ask help to my students. How do I do this? Where do I go? How do I minimize my screen? How do I share? I used to ask help from them. And of course, my institution gave technical training as well to the faculty. If that's something that helps, great, to understand how to ask help. So that's one part with respect to work. But setting aside a structured time of the day, for example, every day 4 to 6 o'clock, if it's about just preparation of the education materials for the next day. 6 o'clock onwards, it's about home. 4 to 6, if you are not able to focus on home, then assign responsibilities for someone else to do. In fact, when I've been working with parents, even children as young as 5 and 6 years of age can take care of their younger siblings. But we have to assign work for them. By themselves, they may not create. At the same time, children are very good with imaginative play, the younger ones. The older children can take on responsibilities as well. It can even be cutting vegetables. It can be learning how to wash a tomato. I've seen parents who teach their children how to pick peas out of a pod and put, and it becomes an activity. You count how many and put. So during this time, we have to be more creative with our problem solving and structure, routine, and prioritizing. What is the
Thank you so
most
much.
important thing I need to do today? And then work your way down the list. Yes, ma'am?
Thank you so much. You want to tell me that I have to plan my day according to my priority.
Yes, ma'am. According to your priority, and if you can delegate some responsibility to the other people who are there at home, that's also fine. That will also help. Even children can take care of children during this time.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much for your question as well. Thank you. So just if there are any additional questions as well, you can feel free to leave it into the slide. I've given the details of my safe place as well, my personal handle as well. You can always reach out to us for any personal mental health queries as well. Are there any other questions?
No, ma'am, I guess so.
Okay, all right. Shilpi, over to you.
Okay, I think ma'am gave us a lot of pointers, to help us, maintain the balance. And obviously we have experienced burnout. So I hope, this session really helps you. If anybody would like to share their experiences or maybe how they cope, they are please most welcome to share for the benefit of others, how they've been managing, how they've been doing, any personal emotions maybe they are not able to handle or cope up with and they would like help, or any kind of support that they're appreciative of during this time. Be anyone, any experience.
Ma'am, here I would like to share one thing. As ma'am has told us, ki we have to ask the children, we have to give the space to the children to ask what they are doing. As we taking the game classes, we always ask them what kind of help you are doing with your parents. The kid says ki we are maintaining our room. Some says just I was helping to mom, and I said, but how you are helping right now? So how they can help? As they whatever toys they are using, they can keep them back in a side and keep them in a place where they have kept it out. So this is the big help from their side. So as they cannot make the things here and there after doing their activity, they can keep themselves their all the toys in the place.
Okay, ma'am. Good to hear that. Anybody else? Ma'am, a lot of people ask me, is it better to make a to-do list, right, in the before you sleep or in the morning? Many of the people feel conflicted. So,
Shilpi, for each person, it works differently. Some people don't like doing it. For me, Excel sheets works very well. So before I log off in the day, I have this very nicely organized Excel sheets which tell me what time I should do what. And when I start my day the next morning, I just look through my sheet once. So it kind of tells me, okay, I have everything planned. And as and when I complete an activity, I enjoy highlighting something in yellow to say that I've completed it. It makes me feel good at the end of a day to see 5 points highlighted, and then whatever's remaining, I reorder it for the next day if that's possible. So that works for me. So I'm sure each of us have different methods which can work for us. Maybe a person who will remind you at the beginning, no, today you have to do these three things. A spouse or a sibling or even a child. Who says a child can't remind you what you have to do in the day? Mama, you told me that you have to do these three things. And that gives you that boost, no, that someone else is also there trying to guide you, trying to support you. If list works for you, that's also fine. Visual schedules that you can tick off physically, that's also fine.
right, right, absolutely. Uh, Anyone else? Any other takeaway from the session that you would like to share? Or we could let Ma'am go then. Any other question? Because it's really important topic and school feel that it okay. Prabhat sir, please speak.
थैंक यू मैम, थैंक यू सो मच। मुझे बहुत ही अच्छा, बहुत ही बढ़िया ये सेशन लगा, बहुत मैंने गेन किया इस सेशन से। रिशल मैम, थैंक यू सो मच, रियली ग्रेटफुल टू यू। एक चीज पूछना चाह रहा था कि कई बच्चों से जैसे इंटरेक्शन किया, कई बच्चों से जैसे बातचीत की, तो इस पेंडेमिक में उनके अंदर बहुत ज्यादा एक डर आ गया है। मतलब उनके पेरेंट्स सेफ रहे, लेकिन उन्होंने अपने फ्रेंड्स की फैमिली में या अपने उसके ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स को खो दिया, या उस बच्चे ने अपने ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स को खो दिया। इसकी वजह से वो बच्चा जो बहुत ज्यादा मतलब बात किया करता था, फ्री था बोलने में, हर एक चीज में इन्वॉल्व होता था, अब वो इतना सहमा सा, डरा हुआ सा रहता है। तो इस चीज से कैसे कैसे डील किया जाए, क्या करें? हम उसको हर तरह से, उसको क्लास में हम बहुत चांस देते हैं कि बेटा तुम बजाओ। मैं म्यूजिक टीचर हूँ, उसको बहुत ज्यादा बताते हैं, उसको पूरा फोकस रखे कि तुम इस चीज को ऐसे करो, लेकिन फिर भी वो जो है वो एक उस समय क्लास में हैंडल कर लेता है, लेकिन जब वो क्लास में आता है तो वही डिप्रेशन में उसके चेहरे पे वो जो है वो डिप्रेशन के भाव आ जाते हैं। इस चीज को कैसे, क्योंकि उसने अपनी फैमिली में इतना ज्यादा ये देख लिया है लॉस कि वो उस चीज से निकल नहीं पा रहा है।
Yes, sir. Rashi?
Yes, Rachel. You want me to translate?
Yes, please, Rashi.
Okay. Rachel,
So-
Prabhatji was saying that there is a child and there might be many children who have lost their grandparents.
Yeah.
Okay. So Prabhatji is a music sir, and when this child comes to the class, he sees that the child is depressed. And Prabhatji is trying in several ways to help him, tell him to play some music, and really trying to help him out. But despite Prabhatji's all efforts, still he can see that there's a trace of depression in this child. So
Okay.
his question is that how does he help this child to come
All
out of
right,
it?
sir. So I think you're already doing a wonderful job already. But when a person has lost somebody very close to them, it takes at least 6 months minimum for normal sadness or normal depression when it comes to a loss. It will take at least that time for an adult. For children, they don't understand what it means, what death or loss means, like how it means to an adult. They don't understand. So the only thing we can do there is what is under our control. Like you beautifully said, ask the child to play some music, to always to try and help him express, maybe helping to write. You can write lyrics so that there can be some memory about the person that they lost. Something using your own talent and your own skill, the class that you do with the child, so that but the child also knows that this sir is there for me. This is a space that I can rely on. I feel safe. It's important also if the child feels sad that he should feel sad. What happens is as parents, as teachers, we want to rescue the child out of that emotion. But to experience grief, they need to go through that emotion. It is a normal stage of grief is they need to feel the sadness, but they also should see that when I'm feeling the sadness, someone who I can rely on, someone who I can see as safe, uh, a person that I love, a teacher that I look up to is there. And in your presence, when the child feels sad, it means he's comfortable enough with you to feel that sadness, and that is good. That is important for his healing, sir. So I think you're already doing a wonderful job.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. I can understand what you said. अभी आपने जो बोला कि मैं ये जरूर उससे बोलूंगा कि तुम जो है वो अपना कंपोज को, यू कंपोज योर ओन म्यूजिक, यू राइट सम लिरिक्स, यू डू
Yes.
समथिंग, this type of thing I will ask. Thank
Yes,
you so
thank
much,
you.
ma'am. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
थैंक यू प्रभा जी। और
Thank-
इन्होंने ये भी ऐड किया कि 6 महीने नॉर्मल अडल्ट में टाइम
हाँ,
लगता
हाँ।
है ग्रीविंग के लिए, तो बच्चे में शायद उससे ज्यादा भी लगे कम लगे, बट द फैक्ट
जी,
कि
जी।
आप उनके साथ हो और आप इतने सेंसिटिवली उसे समझ रहे हैं और परख रहे हैं, वो उस बच्चे के लिए बहुत अच्छा एक सेफ स्पेस रहेगा हमेशा।
Thank you so much, ma'am. Really grateful
Thank
to
you so
you.
much,
Thank
sir.
you, ma'am.
थैंक यू प्रभा
Thank
जी।
you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhat, for coming forward. Anybody has to, we have, I saw a hand raised. Any other questions, everyone? Please fill the feedback form as well. Just wanted to remind you. We are very fortunate that we have such trained, experienced people, talking to us, helping us, and this time, I'm sure I, took up a lot of things to, tell my students, and I myself, need to be reminded, that I need to do this. To-do list, I've been telling myself, ma'am, that I need to do this. No, this is what I tell my kids, students, do this, and I myself don't follow. So, it's kind of today was a kind of a reminder to, work on myself as well. So really happy and privileged to have such a inspiring, talk and a session. And thankful for the safe place. Thank you, Rashi ma'am.
थैंक यू।
Thank you
you
so
very
much.
We hope that we'll connect with you soon again, and I'm sure, we would reach out to you, if
Thank
we
you.
want to,
Thank you.
if we need help in any way.
Thank you, Shilpi.
Yes.
Anytime, Shilpi. Individual help or as a group is always available. I've shared my mail ID for the benefit of all. And you've also shared a feedback form, which will make us understand the situation far better, how people felt. Are there any more questions? Would they like such events more? And so that's from us. And thank you very much, Rachel. Over to you, Shilpi.
Shilpi ma'am, can we have the feedback form in the chat box?
Yes, ma'am, I had pasted. You can't see. I'll circulate it on the groups. I just pasted, ma'am. Just want to thank you all for joining us today. And I hope you got some tips, to, for your overall well-being. You got as previous session also, it was based on a good art therapy and other sessions. So thank you, everyone.